Hello and welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. This is a breaking news kind of episode. Lampard has been sacked at Stamford Bridge. He's no longer Chelsea manager. I have with me my co-host Abrar Aziz and a huge Chelsea fan, as you can see with his background, Mr. Rayan Ahmed. Rayan, first of all, how are you doing, man? Mixed emotions?
Mixed emotions. I was kind of on the fence regarding Lampard, but we just have to accept it and move on now.
Yep, and Abrar, man, you called this Chelsea season from before. You said there was going to be issues because of so many players. Your initial thoughts, is it just because unfortunate with the way when he came in, he wasn't allowed to sign players, and then suddenly he signed a lot of players, or is that just an excuse and he should have done better?
No, actually, I've always been mentioning if you buy so many players with the kind of players that they bought, it's great talent, but it's not a team yet, and it takes some time for the team to gel. And I've always been mentioning this for a while now. They had a string of few games together when they were winning a lot, and suddenly everyone forgot about the fact that this is a new team that is integrated only this past summer, literally only October. If you really think about it, towards the end of September, October was when it all came together. So it's almost impossible for someone to in 3 months to be able to create a team that's winning week in week out. It took Klopp 5 years. It's taking Arteta some time. We're seeing it took Ole Gunnar also a while. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, we know how Mr. Roman is with his managers. He has no patience. It's unfortunate. And this was. I mean, I'm not surprised. It was meant to happen because the results are not going in his favor,
Yeah.
and the fact that they have Tuchel available, right? And it's an easy swap for them. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and Rayan, if you look at clubs like Arsenal, United, they went to similar patches. It was very similar. Even worse, probably. United were 16th at one point. Arsenal were 15th, 16th, 15th, I think. Do you think, if signing a play, like a manager like Lampard, who is young, you need to give him more time, or just with the amount of money spent, it was time to go? What do you feel?
In my opinion, any other club gives him time, but at Chelsea that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. Precedent has been set. You can just see the records of managers have been sacked for much less than this.
100%. But because it's Lampard, I'm saying, do you think he should?
Because of Lampard, but if you closely analyze, even the stats don't go his way. If you compare, he in the Roman Abramovich era, for any permanent manager, he had the lowest point per game average. He had less than Andres Villas-Boas. Wow. So the stats also didn't work in his way. And me as a regular watcher, I was kind of let me say this. Until the game against Leeds United on the 5th of December, everything was sailing well. The team was gelling, and just suddenly something happened from that game onwards that I think there were many reports on the internet that said in that game Chelsea outran Leeds by 25%. I don't know, probably that was a physical exertion that was kind of divided onto their performance in the next few games. I don't know what, but there was a combination of factors that affected that poor run, and then it culminated in his departure.
Yeah, and
another thing I would like to add, there were many factors that went into this. One was this. Second was I've always been a critic of his tactical awareness, Lampard's tactical awareness. You see, Lampard's model. I might sound this opinion might sound unpopular, controversial, whatever you want to say, but the kind of tactics Lampard wants, he would actually suit players where the players in the forward line, such as Neymar's, who are established talents. He relies on individual brilliance in the final third for the team to score goals and for all their attacking inputs. So he relies on individual brilliance. He does not have fixed patterns of play. For example, Arteta has them. He attacks down the left. He likes Tierney bombing forward, and then you've got your Sakas and all drifting inwards. So he doesn't have any set patterns of play. And many a time I would like to say that it is tactical naivety that has cost. And finally, the players just gave up on him by the end. You could have seen clearly if you watched the Leicester game. The players just didn't care at all. They were just moping around the pitch. Yeah. I was disgusted. I was disgusted more by the players' performance than at the manager, because no manager can succeed when the players are jogging back against a team like Leicester. I mean, that was a shambles.
That's actually a great point, Don, that Ryan made there. He was talking about tactically as well. But what do you think about man management? Because Solskjaer also, I feel tactically he does make mistakes, but his man managing is brilliant. Like we mentioned, the way he handled the Pogba situation, the way he's handled all the United players. Do you think Lampard could have done that better, Abrar?
I think so. I think that they could have
Someone
been a
like a
little bit
Werner, you know
more
what I mean?
from his
Like
end.
someone like a Warner who's got into really good goal
Yeah,
scoring positions, but
absolutely.
it's a confidence kind of thing. So maybe put an arm around him and maybe like something like that, like manage that player better.
Absolutely, I think that is where he somewhat lacked, and that's the reason that he's going today. It's yeah, I agree completely with Ryan, the fact that he is tactically naive. I've noticed that even before in some games, he's had issues with the tactical side of things. But it is the fact that his man management was also poor, and it didn't help this Chelsea side. And
Mm.
when a manager loses the dressing room, it's almost over. He's never going
Yeah.
to get it back. It's never going to happen. So at that point in time, it's better to sack the manager and find someone else. And since Tuchel's available, like I keep saying this, it just makes sense. It's a smart decision because he's a proven manager. He's done it with the PSG. He's done it with Dortmund. So he's done it, and he's German. So he helps the likes of Werner and Havertz come through.
Yeah, that helps
So
a lot. And
I think it was a smart decision for
like
Chelsea
you
to save
mentioned,
save this season. It's not yet over.
yeah, go
There's still
ahead.
half the season left, so
Yeah, there's
they have
half the
enough
season
time.
left. 19 games left. It's not all over yet. It's just 8 points for the top four spots. Another thing I would like to add to this is the as Abraham mentioned, the losing the dressing room. It wasn't the core. It wasn't actually the young player core that Lampard built that caused him to lose the dressing room. It was the deadwood that the board was unable to sell during the summer transfer window. Those guys have too big a voice in the dressing room, and that has to be curtailed somehow. Especially with Tuchel, where there's a tendency of him to fall out with the board. We have seen it with Dortmund. We have seen it with PSG. Hopefully, it doesn't happen here. Especially reports just recently, just before we started recording, of Antonio Rudiger. Antonio Rudiger, who has joined Chelsea in 2017, slightly below average to average defender, I'd say. He has been hugging the bench all of the season, and he has the audacity to come and belittle and beef with the youngsters of the squad, and and he's channeling his insecurities onto those players, and that's causing them to lose confidence. The report has been published by many credible outlets. He's had multiple fights with Cesar Azpilicueta, the club captain. That him, Marcos Alonso, that is the old news. You must have seen the 3-3 draw against West Bromwich Albion when he was subbed off at halftime. There was a full heated debate with Lampard. So these players who haven't been given adequate time on the pitch, these guys are revolting against the manager. So they have also played a massive part in the sacking of the manager. So I blame them too. And in the previous seasons as well, in prime Abramovich years, we have seen managers being sacked multiple times. But the spine, the spine was crucial. You had your Terrys, you had your Lampard, you had your Scholes, you had your Czechs. Those guys carried them through. But now we have a very young squad, and they need to be guided. They need to be given instructions before coming onto the pitch. So, as you said, man management was very important.
Yeah, and those are some excellent points. I didn't know about that Rudiger situation, but Abra, how important is it now, considering all this? How important and how tough will it be for Tuchel? He's more experienced. He's handled some big personalities like Neymar, Mbappe. How important, like how hard is it going to be for him? And do you think? And he's never managed in the Premier League, so but he does have the advantage with German players and everything. So how tough or how easy is it going to be for him? And what do you see for Chelsea in the near future? Sorry.
I think he'll get the new manager bounce. I think that usually when new managers come in, they implement some ideas, and he's a tactically astute guy. I think that he will bring in some tactics that'll help Chelsea. Same time, like I think what Ryan mentioned also, they need to get rid of the deadwood that's creating all these kinds of issues for sure. First,
Circulate their contracts, man.
Yeah, I think you can. It's if it's going to that extent, then it's important to terminate such kind of contracts. And second, you want to bring in some leaders in the pitch. There's a Thiago Silva, there's a Cesar Azpilicueta, but you have to give the kind of responsibility to someone up front. Like bring in, let's say, whoever you think that has some leadership qualities, to like Christian Pulisic, if you think that he has those kind of qualities, bring it him and try to.
Mason Mount.
Mount has it. So, those couple of people who have it, and then, try to communicate within the pitch as well. I think that's very important. I think that manager can only do so much. When you stand on the field, I think some of the players need to contribute more in terms of communication as well. And that will help this Chelsea side. And I think that that's most important at this moment in time. I think that they will get that bounce for sure, I think, though.
Yeah, definitely. But like Abrar, your point is actually extremely valid. Like what you're saying about how it takes time for players to come in and everything, right? Because Lampard did it with a far weaker squad last year, and he made it top 4, right? So it is just a matter of time. But then again, like you guys mentioned, it's the Chelsea management, is the ownership and everything. That's how they run. So it was coming, but
the lack of a preseason played a part in it too.
100%.
Last season he got the whole of July and June and July to instill his philosophies on the team, and he had a young group of players, and the expectations were beyond low. So that's why he got a lot of time with the squad. But this season, after the investment, you can understand what the board must have thought sitting 9th at the halfway point. So that triggered the reaction in them. Sorry, please continue.
No, for sure. I completely agree with that. That's the whole reason behind the sack, and we've seen, like you said, I mean, for a lot lesser managers have been sacked in Chelsea.
I'm from Grant, man.
Yeah, if he was in Arsenal, he'd probably get 3 to 4 years. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, so it happens on and off. So it's unfortunate, but that's how Chelsea runs, and it was meant to be. I mean, once it's halfway stage, you need to salvage the season. You need to get into the top 6 to get at least a Europa spot. So you give the new manager about 15-16 games at least to kind of get those points together and try to make that top 6 so that they can at least get the Europa spot.
Yep. Sorry, Ryan, you want to say something?
But it's essential these deadwood have to be shifted as soon as possible, because they're going to ruin the harmony of the squad, and they're going to be a bad influence on the youngsters, the academy players as well as the signings.
And with the experienced manager like Tuchel, it'd probably be easier to get rid of the deadwood, but only time will tell how much influence he can have, how much control he can have over the dressing room. But like to wrap up, I just wanted to ask you guys, was this the most surprising out of Arteta, Solskjaer, and Lampard to go first? Did anyone expect? I didn't expect it, but did you guys expect this? Don, you can take this first.
I expected Ole Gunnar to leave sooner, but he suddenly really turned things around.
For me, it was Solskjaer, Arteta, then Lampard, because Solskjaer was on the brink, and even Arteta. And to be honest, they were, their position was way more. They were like 15th or 16th. They were way more down in the league.
With Ole Gunnar, I expected it because I know United will sack some players. We've seen them sack some managers. But with Arsenal, they don't roll like that. I didn't expect that they would sack Arteta in the middle of the season, unless like with Emery, they really lost everything. Like that was the only time that, I mean, of course, for 20 years, Arsene Wenger was the manager, and then Emery came on, and then he was really never able to get the team together. He was never able to get the fans together. With Arteta, he's won an FA Cup only a few months back. It's not the way that Arsenal would roll. It was a slump in form, and they know that they have a long and there was no news about him losing the dressing room. Everyone was more and more confident about him. So I never had a feeling that Arteta would go. I am a little surprised by Lampard, but at the same time, we know how Chelsea rolls, and you expect that from us. I expected it to be
five losses in 8 games.
A couple of weeks before I expected it. It was actually 2 weeks too late for me, in my opinion, for Chelsea.
I thought after the City game, he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. I think some really good points. And Ryan, your thoughts? Did you expect this to happen out of the other managers?
I was expecting it after the City match, but it's kind of bittersweet for me because he was my hero. He was my first ever.
Growing up, he was the main guy.
Was Lampard.
Yeah.
My first ever Chelsea kid was a Lampard kid. So he'll always be my hero. But what I'd like to say is that Chelsea is not the club for you to gain experience. That can't be a first or second job in management. Your second year management. It just cannot. It's too big a job for you. Unless you have players like a Ronaldo that Zidane had, who will carry the whole team with you. With kids and all, it's very, very tough. He'll definitely come back. Him or Terry. Maybe in half a decade or something. He'll learn a lot. He'll come back. I hope he comes back. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and it's probably a good guideline for other clubs as well. Like you probably need not other clubs, probably other managers who want to ex-players who want to become managers. Take your time, like get some experience with the different clubs, different leagues, and then come to a big club like a Chelsea or a United, because there's going to be a lot of pressure. So I think it's a good kind of guideline for other managers. But any last thoughts, Don?
No, I'm good. I mean, this is actually good for Chelsea. So it's really not good for someone like an Arsenal who's also trying to make that top six.
It's going to take time for Tuchel to build his imprint as well. Tactical. Yeah. He's probably top 3 in the league tactically. Probably after Guardiola and Mourinho, he comes for me in terms of tactical.
I'll be very interested to see what he does with Havertz and Werner, because if Werner starts firing, then it's going to be next level for Chelsea, and that'll show it is the man management. So I'll be very interested to see how he manages those players, and the German influence. I'm sure it will help, but only time will tell.
I hope he retains. See, he's got a proven track record of integrating academy players into the team as well. He's a big fan of. Sorry, I'd just like to add this before we wrap up. He actually auditioned for the job. Interviewed for the job when Conte was sacked in 2018.
Oh, okay.
This is according to an article in the Telegraph or The Athletic. I'm not so sure. He knew the position and the name of every academy player in the Chelsea academy, from the under 23s, under 21s, under 19s, under 18s, all the way to the under 15s. He knew the name and position and their strengths. So that guy, he's a big fan. This job is kind of tailor-made for him. If he can keep up with the board, that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's quite nice. Yeah. And the board will back him. I mean, if he needs some money, they will give it to him, because Chelsea are always willing to spend. So that's in a way good for him. And if he can give 2-3 years of some stability, get a trophy here and there, I think that'd be solid. Then they can probably integrate someone else in 2-3 years to bring in and get like a long-term project with them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree with that. Some great points from both Rayan and Abrar. Thank you guys for joining me. It was a really good episode. And Rayan, hoping for you guys to come back and fight it out for that top 4. It'll be a very interesting race. Yeah. And Don, Arteta at the wheel, baby. Travel coming. Travel is coming.
In a couple of years, yeah.
Travel is coming. But yeah, I think it's going to be still exciting football to look forward to. So I'll catch you guys for that. And take care. Thank you for joining me. It was a kind of abrupt kind of situation. Like suddenly it happened. But, it's always good to discuss and see what was going on. But thank you guys. Thank you, Abrar. Thank you, Rayan.